All right, so at your calendar in the class, your calendar basically is going to tell you um, the the due dates for the class. Of course, you have the due dates listed in the class syllabus as well. All right, so pretty much everything in each unit is due on the same day. Okay, so let's go back to the start of the class. This is the starting page, the main course content area, and you would just simply click on calendar to get there. Now I'm going to actually get into student preview mode because student preview mode gives you the same sort of view that you would get when you go to log in yourself. Okay, so that particular screen before, it was actually the instructor mode. Okay, so I'm going to click on calendar, and then I'm going to select due dates. Okay, so we see that Sunday, July 25th, you have a host of activities that are going to be due. Of course, some have already completed all of them, and kudos to you for jumping ahead and getting some work completed before it's actually due. And that is a behavior that all of us want to sort of follow because things do come up, right? Now, this past Sunday, we also had several things that were due. And I saw on the grade book today that there were several who missed that due date. So you had 3 different items that were due, 2 voice threads and 1 SimNet activity. This SimNet activity, Introduction to Computers, is only 6 tasks. So that means you have to read 6 pages, and then it's going to ask you some questions. So you'll get at least 6 questions, okay? And so I saw that some folks have missed those due dates on, or that due date on these 3 activities. So what that means is in the grade book, each one of these are zeros, okay? And this is just an automatic sort of thing. So, you know, for the next time, of course, for this next due date coming up Sunday, July 25th, you don't want all zeros. So that means you're going to have to get on there and actually complete some things. All right. But if you scroll down the page, you will definitely see all the due dates for the entire semester. Okay. Now, at the beginning of a semester, it's the perfect time for you to sort of get ahead and stay ahead. These activities that are due this upcoming Sunday or by this upcoming Sunday are very short and sweet tasks. They're not too taxing. I think the one that probably has the most in it is the internet one, and it may have 20 tasks. Everything else is well below the 20. Some have 5, some have 7, some have 8. So you just have to get on there and actually go through each one of those. Are there any questions about due dates? If you do have a question, you can either put it in the chat or you can take yourself off mute so that you can speak your question. All right, seemingly there's not any questions that I can see in the chat, and I don't hear anyone who's come off mute. All right, so I'm going to return to the main course content area, and I'm going to click on Start Here, and I want to show you in one of the voice threads, your first voice thread, how to go back in there and view feedback. Okay, so if you click on Introductions VoiceThread, okay, then you have to also click the launch button. Now, also let me sort of address your submissions, and it's saying late unopened. It's going to say late and unopened for every student. Doesn't matter if you've submitted or not. And I think it's just a Blackboard glitch that does this, but VoiceThread does not report to Blackboard if you have submitted anything. So you have to be aware of what you've submitted yourself with the VoiceThreads. Okay, so keep some kind of journal, some kind of log in your 5-subject notebook. You can write out the date that you submitted your work. Okay, and that's just for your record keeping. So when you click on launch, you should see the instructions for the VoiceThread. It'll take a moment for it to kind of gather its thoughts here, but it's going to give you the instructions for the VoiceThread. And then on each slide in the VoiceThread, the very first comment on each slide is a comment from me. Okay, so it should automatically start playing if you haven't been in there. But if you have been in there, then it's going to pick up where you left off. Okay, so the first VoiceThread, there are 5 slides in this slide deck. Okay, and so the first one is just telling you there's nothing required on this slide. The only thing you have to do is click the forward pointing arrow to go to the next slide. Okay, so you just click that little white forward arrow. Once you have made your comments in a VoiceThread, you will see your little comment tile with your initials on it. If you have uploaded your own picture, which I provided you with the information to do so in the Start Here documentation in those instructional documents, you can put your own picture, and it'll show up in every VoiceThread from the beginning of the semester to the end. All right. And even when you go into other classes that are using VoiceThread, your picture, it's a global setting, so your picture will appear on any comments that you make. But as just immediately below your initial comment, all comments that are correctly put on here from students are, have a square comment. The circular comments are responses or replies. Okay, so immediately below your square, you should see a comment circle with my picture in it. Okay, so we can go down the list and see all of the students who have actually submitted. Okay, so on slide 3, you were to introduce yourself. So I basically responded to each student who did their comments on the slides. Okay. Now, the only one I do believe that does not get any comments from me is slide 4. Okay. So these are comments from your classmates, from you and your classmates. Okay. And then on slide 5, you were to post your semester plan. I'm going to show you what a successful semester plan looks like. Okay. Now, this is from one of your classmates, Shanae Manette, and Shanae just says, my plan is to pass this class successfully. That's a great plan, Shanae, so thank you. By staying focused on completing assignments, and that is something that every student should be doing. Completing those assignments on time. I have set the hours of studying on Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I will pass with an A. Okay, so she shared her intentions and how she plans on getting it done. So that's a model for everyone in the class. Okay, now when you add your comments, it will, or when you submit your comments, it will show you over here if you actually submitted. So if it says not yet submitted, then that means that you cannot get a grade for this activity. With VoiceThreads, you have to click on submit. Okay, just to add the comment is not submitting it. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to click on the X to get back to the main course content area. Now, for those of you who missed the first due date, don't panic because I'm going to open those back up, okay? But I just want to, sort of help you out in the sense that I don't want you to start the semester with zeros. So I'm going to open it back up, both the introductions voice thread and the practice computing basics voice thread. And I'm going to make the due date for the 25th of July. Okay, so that will be Sunday. Okay, Sunday, July 25th. All right. Now your next voice thread will be in the Develop Simple Databases unit, and it is not due. Well, the entire unit is due August the 8th. So that includes the voice thread as well. Okay, so I'll be making that available here shortly. So just kind of giving you a heads up that you still will have an opportunity to complete the introductions voice thread and the practice computing basics voice thread. And I will also make available that intro to computing, your first initial sim book, because again, it's important that you have a good foundation, okay, in the class. So starting off with zeros is not a good thing in any class. All right. Now, in the practice computing basics unit, you have several instructional documents. Okay, so you definitely want to read through the instructional documents. I'm just going to tap on the first couple of instructional documents. And at the beginning of each instructional document, you're going to see reading is instrumental to learning. Okay, if you're reading a verse, meaning you don't really care for reading, there are, helpful ways that you can get around reading. Okay. Technology is so now that you can actually, copy and paste some of what's on these instructional documents into a Word document and have Word to read it aloud to you. So that's definitely something that's possible. Okay, so just know that. And I'll show you before we actually get off today. Sorry about that. Give me one moment. All right, sorry. I had to turn my mobile device off. And normally I do that before the session started, but today I didn't. So that's the noise that you heard. So I do apologize for that. All right. So in your instructional documents, I give you some kind of background or reasoning behind why you're learning the things that you're learning in this class, and ultimately, you know, what you're going to gain from it. Okay, so that's what the instructional documents are all about. Now, some of the instructional documents have a little bit more detail. Okay, I would say that the instructional documents are filling in the gaps of what is not presented in SimNet. Okay, so say for instance on this particular instructional document, it's telling you, hey, these are the specific learning outcomes, okay, or questions that are going to be answered in this unit. Okay, so that's why you have all of those individual SimNet, SimBook activities for the practice computing basics area. Okay, and then it goes into telling you how to launch a SimBook, basically how to complete it. All right, and then here we have all of the due dates, okay, listed for all of the things that are due. Now, once you begin, or once you complete one SimBook, you know, it'll start to become a habit, and, you know, it'll be, you know, it'll go very quick. I do tell you in the instructional documentation that you definitely, you know, want to take notes. Not only on the instructional documents, but in the SimBooks themselves. Okay, you want that 5-subject notebook, and you want, you know, to take notes. This is just like any other class, any other college class that you would take, where you need to take notes. Okay, and the note taking that I recommend in this class is really you're taking notes on things that are new, things that you've never heard of before, because that's where the learning actually takes place. Okay, so I'm just going to click on another instructional document so that you can see what they're all about. If you see ones with, you know, lines underneath words, roll your mouse pointer over it, and if it turns into a hand or a different image, then that means that that's a clickable link. Okay, and most often a clickable link that I provide is going to lead you to a video. Okay, so this is just showing you how to use SimNet. Okay, familiarizing yourself with SimNet. Okay, giving you some additional information about SimNet technical support. If you run into any issues using SimNet, and maybe we're not in class, or maybe office hours is over, SimNet is always available. They have, you know, a treasure trove of support agents that can help you. Pretty much they're open, you know, 24 hours, 365. And so you would simply just call that number and then select student and SimNet from the call menu. Okay. Now their hours do change, but technically if you know, get on there and it'll ask you to kind of state your problem, someone will get back with you if, you know, if they're closed momentarily. Okay. Now, something that SimNet is very different from other tools that are used. You know, at Jefferson, we have faculty who do not use SimNet. They may use other products like Skills Assessment Manager or SAM or My IT Lab. I stopped using those years ago. I think SimNet is just a better product. And actually, SimNet is more heavily used throughout the world than any of those products. So that's why I'm using SimNet. Okay. Now, for SimNet, what separates SimNet from the pack of, you know, simulated tools, that's what SimNet is. But long after this class, you'll be able to use the SimNet library. Okay. So You'll be able to log into SimNet directly, and you'll see all the lessons that we covered this semester and even more. But you'll have access well after this class. Okay, so you won't have to go through Blackboard after the class is over to get into SimNet. You can log into SimNet directly, and that information is provided in the final folder that we will get to this semester. Okay, so that's a good thing. It's a lifelong learning tool. Okay, so your first activity or your first assignment is that Introduction to Computers sim book. Okay, now when you hear the word sim book, this just means this is your ebook or your electronic book for the class. Okay, so you simply just go into it, and you're going to initially see a page, and I know that the Intro to Computers has expired, so I'm not going to click on that. I'm just going to go into the next one. Okay, I'm going to click on Hardware so that you can see what's going to happen. For those of you who have not actually signed up for SimNet yet, this is what you're going to experience. Okay, so when you click on any SimBook activity, you're going to get a little panel over to the right, and it's going to say, okay, here's the due date. Have you submitted anything? Here's when it's due again. So it's kind of telling you, okay, this is due, this is upcoming. And then it says launch. There's a little button down here that says launch. When you click on launch for the first time, you're going to get a window that basically says create your SimNet account. Okay. And if you have never signed up for a SimNet account before, it's already selected for you here. It's already selected, no, create new account. This is where most students will fall. Now, if you've taken the class before and you've used SimNet, then you would click on yes, sign in now. But if you never got to this part, then you would just click on create account. Okay, and it will automatically take you into that assignment. All right. Are there any questions, anything that I can clarify for you today? If so, you can type it into the chat, or you can take yourself off mute. Okay, so I'm going to close here, and let me get to, because I want to go into SimNet directly, and I want to actually show you some of these activities. They're not really all that taxing. And as I said earlier, there are some students who have already completed all of the practice computing basics activities. Okay. So I think hardware was the next one on the list. So when you click on that hardware link and you set up your SimNet account, when you do that, it's going to open a page that looks exactly like this. So just think of this as the front cover of your book, okay? And then you simply just click on Open SimBook. You can see how many pages are included there. Just click on Open SimBook. And basically, it looks just like a book, okay? It has text with pictures, okay? And like I said, you're reading through the page and taking notes on anything that's new, okay? Any new information. And then you would click on the Let Me Try button in the top left of the page. And then from here, it's going to ask you some questions, okay, about what you just read. Okay. Now, some will feel it necessary to review their notes before coming in here, and that's perfectly fine. Or you could review your notes as you go through each of the steps. Now, on here in the top left corner, you see step 1 of 3. So that means it's going to ask you 3 questions, okay, for this one. So it says select 3 items located in a system unit. Select your answers, then click done. So it's telling you selecting 3 is possible, right? So if I selected 3 and then click done, okay, it'll kind of tell you, okay, this is not correct, okay? So you click continue and you go back and you select the ones that, you know, you feel that are correct. And then you simply go to the next one and do the same thing, okay? So it's kind of like, you know, just reviewing that, you know, the information that you read, just to make sure that you have that solid foundation, right? So that's pretty much how it's going to go, okay? Now, I'm just going to answer this because I want to actually show you something that's going to happen if you do get it correct. Okay, so when you get it correct, all right, there should be a little white check mark on the Let Me Try, but sometimes it does not appear, okay? So, but when you exit out of it, you will see a check mark just below where you launched or opened the SimBook, okay? So when you complete, and I just completed that one, you see here that it had 1 task and you completed that 1 task with a check mark, okay? Now there are 6 other tasks and that box is left open because I haven't gotten there yet. So your goal is to get check marks in all of these, okay? And that's how you get your, you know, your grade. So let's say if you completed all of these except 1, that 1 is going to be counted as a 0, okay? So you're going to get 5 out of 6, okay, and whatever that percentage is. All right. Hopefully this makes sense. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. All right. So let me go back to our main course content area, and I'm still in the practice computing basics unit. Okay. Now, once you complete all of these activities, at the very end, you do have an area where you'll be able to watch any live recordings from our class sessions just by going into, you know, the watch recordings of virtual class sessions area. Today's recording will be in this area after the class, and it's not an immediate thing. I try to do it as quickly as possible, but sometimes I can't get it there, you know, as soon as the class ends, but I try to. So give me an hour and you should see it in this area. Also, you have an area just to talk to your classmates, you know, asking things like, hey, did anyone experience this in legal and ethical issues or in hardware? Okay, this is an area just for you to talk to your classmates and sort of been working as you have. And then at the very end, you have what is called an exit slip. Okay. Now, the exit slip is basically your reporting of your personal experience in this unit. Okay. And it just asks 4 questions. Okay. So when you click on it, you're going to get to a short survey, 4 questions. And it's basically going to ask you, how would you rate, your current level of understanding, okay, in this unit? So 1 being the lowest, I understand very little of what we did today, and I feel completely lost. And then 4 being, I understand everything we did and can apply the knowledge. Okay. The second question is, what is one big understanding that you got from this unit? Okay. And then the third question, what are you most confused about? Now, you may wonder, well, why do I have to do this? You don't have to, it's optional, but it's giving you the ability to report your experience in the unit. Now, what this does for me is it helps me to make the unit better for not only your class, but for classes that will come after you. Okay. And then sometimes you may have a suggestion about something that you saw that seemed a little off or confusing to you. Certainly, I want to hear your suggestions. Okay. So that's what you do at the end, basically, of each unit. Okay. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute, or you can type it into the chat. When you're finished with the unit, just simply tap on, how you got into it. Okay. How you get into it basically, expands it. And once you go back to it and click, it collapses it. Okay. So then you're ready to move to the next unit. So pretty much that's how the entire semester will flow. You will have some instructional documents. Then you will have your sim books, okay, which is your textbook readings. And those let me try activities is how you get your grade for the sim books, okay? Now in the develop database, simple databases area, this is where you will start having quizzes. So after you've read through all of the chapters, basically there are 4 chapters in each unit. After you have read through everything, taken notes and studied those notes, then you're ready to move to the very short quiz. There's only 5 questions, okay? Very short quiz, and it should be rather simple, especially if you went through those instructional documents and you read through the chapters, okay? But the same sort of setup. Now, in the Develop Simple Databases unit, you will have what are called, starting with that unit, you'll start having what are called projects. And how I look at the projects is you wouldn't want a pilot for, a plane that you were taking a trip to vacation to just practice, right? You would want him to actually know how to, fly an actual plane, right? The same difference here. It's great to go through all of the simulations, meaning the sim books, and to read all the instructional documents. But until you get into the actual application and do the work, and actually practice getting something completed in the application, then you're not proficient yet. Okay. So, but if you can complete that project, that means that you actually learn something from the lecture and from your reading. All right. So, access will be that first application that you will have a project to complete. Okay. Again, you have the watch recordings of virtual class sessions where you'll see basically 2 links, one for the Tuesday class. And as I mentioned last week, what I would like to do for this semester is to use Tuesdays as an instructional day and then Thursdays as a lab day to kind of get you the help that you need. So Troy Rice, who is your dedicated tutor for the class, will be on Thursdays, and between him and I, we will, break you out into groups, and, try to get you the help that you need to successfully complete the class. Okay. Let's see. Troy, are you on here?
I'm here.
Okay. Can you tell the students how they would get in touch with you? Can you maybe demonstrate it as well?
Demonstrate?
I can do it if you can't.
Sorry, I was in all kind of other screens a second ago. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I did place it in my in the chat box. There's my email and my phone number, and so if you just give me a call, it's 230-9016. I can definitely work out arrangements with you to make sure that you're successful. And then we'll use the Blackboard Collaborate. And as Sherry said, we can work on it in class on Thursday. But I'm just really open to assist you. So just kind of reach out, give me a call. We'll arrange something and kind of work that out.
Okay. Thank you. And then how they get into to talk with you through Collaborate, can you walk them through that?
Yes. Could you show them?
Yeah, it's on screen.
Okay. So yeah, so whenever you log into your Blackboard, just click into the class shell and then you can click on Collaborate. Blackboard Collaborate is the second option within the Details Actions column on the left. And sometimes mine is all in one column, so I just have to scroll down or, use my tab button to get to that. But once you click on Collaborate and then join the room, it'll take you into a virtual room, just like this room or just like in Zoom, but it'll give you a virtual room and I can share my screen. You can share your screen in the same format that Sherry's doing with class now, but we can do that individually to assist you with being successful in this course.
Awesome. Okay, so once you do that, it'll show you, hey, you're joining this session on Collaborate. And then once you get in there, Troy will be in there, okay, to better assist you. Okay, so this is what Collaborate looks like. All right. Thank you, Troy.
No problem.
All right. I'm getting notifications. Okay. Yeah, so Troy has provided his information in the chat, his email as well as his phone number. So you definitely need to see that. Let's see if I can share for those of you that don't have access to the chat. Okay, so here's the information over here on the right, trice0008 at kctcs.edu. And his phone is 230-9016. Okay. Now, the way that you would get access to the chat for our live sessions is you have to be logged into your KCTCS account. So if you're on MyPath, then you connect to our class meeting. You should have access to the chat during our time together. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Are there any questions? Any questions at all? Remember, you have to take yourself off mute if you have any questions, or you can put it.
Well, I had a question.
Sure.
When I was doing the voice thread for the first column for the practice part, well, on the fifth one, on the voice thread, the fifth one, it wouldn't allow me to submit it. So I don't know if I had submitted that one or not, because it wasn't giving me an option to submit.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that you submit is once you add all of your comments. So you're talking about in the practice computing basics?
I think
voice
it's the start.
thread or the start one?
Start here.
Okay.
Because I know you had said that we had to go to the second part to finish the and go back to that part.
Yeah.
Yes, on the introductions.
If it was after the due date, then it won't allow you to do anything after the due date. Now, remember, as I said, I'm going to turn this back on for everyone. So you'll have another opportunity to go in there and add, what you couldn't.
Because I had did all the voice threads, all 5 of them, but when I went to the 5th one on the right-hand corner, it didn't state that I could. It didn't say anything about submitting.
Yeah, if you submitted it before, that submit turns into a resubmit. So you may have not, recognized that. So the submit here changes after you submit, or not submit here. The submit button changes to resubmit once you use that submit one time. Okay. But as I said, I'll turn it back on so that, you'll be able to get in there and actually do it. Okay. But thanks for letting me know what your experience was in there, because that's important. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is sort of show you a little bit around Windows and why there's so much, talk about Windows, okay, and why it's important to sort of, use a computer that uses the Windows operating system, okay? So let me share my screen. Get to the desktop. Hold on just a second. All right. So, of course, for this class, we're using the Windows operating system. And so the reason that we do is we're training you guys to enter the workforce, okay? We're training students to get into the workforce. And most businesses use a Windows-based system. Okay, so basically what that means is they're not using Google Chrome books in business. They're not using Macs for the most part in businesses. You have some businesses like newspapers or magazines or I'm trying to think, maybe some graphic designers or something like that would use Macs, okay, or MacBooks. And the reason for that is the MacBook was really, or the Apple computer was really built to deal with image rich applications. Okay. Not many know that PowerPoint, that is a Microsoft product, was initially, it was not created by Microsoft, right? It was created by some Apple developers. Okay. And so what Microsoft did, which that's what Microsoft does, they are a software development company, but they will buy software if they can, project into the future, how they could possibly use that application. So PowerPoint itself was not built for a Windows environment initially, okay? But they made it, after they purchased it, they made it fit the Windows operating system. Now you'll find that throughout, your experience in working for organizations around our city or even around the country or the world, most businesses are using Windows-based applications, okay? There are more software that are available for a Windows machine than an Apple machine, okay, or a Mac. So if you have a MacBook, that's fine, but you're going to run into a lot of issues with running certain software, because not all software was developed to operate on a Mac. Most software that is developed for a Windows-based machine. Okay, so, and I said that to say this, just going to cover a few things on Windows and show you how to get around Windows and to make some adjustments or customizations. Now, this is where Microsoft kind of thrives, okay, in helping users to customize their own experience. Now, you may have in the past couple weeks, or no, it wasn't a couple weeks, it was last week, July 14th, Microsoft basically made a huge announcement in the space of Windows and the future of Windows. Did anyone see an announcement from Microsoft on the news or online last week? Anyone pay attention? Okay. Well, the announcement was that they will be offering to businesses initially Windows in the cloud. So that means that from any machine, whether it's a Google Chromebook, a MacBook, an HP StreamBook, any computer that's created that is not necessarily a Windows-based machine can now access using a virtual Windows machine in the cloud. Okay, now to you that may not be, worth anything, right? You don't really fully comprehend what that means. It just means that Microsoft is going to get more of a market share, okay, in that space of operating systems, okay? So also what that means is companies maybe can buy cheaper machines, like a Chromebook, to empower their workforce, Okay, so that's why they're going to only offer it to businesses initially. So basically, what that means is if an employee has, or even a student has a Chromebook, they won't be limited by just what the Chromebook can do. As long as they have an internet connection, they'll be able to use applications that are developed for Windows, the operating system. Okay. Now, when we go to our next unit, which is Microsoft Access, Microsoft Access is a database management system. Okay. It helps a user to create databases. So, much like the table in a database is the most foundational piece of the database, the operating system on your computer is the most foundational piece of software that you will have. Okay, so I'm sort of making a comparison between a table in a database and Windows, or the operating system on your computer. Okay, they're the most important pieces in their space. All right, so on Windows, you have, and everyone's is going to be different. Okay. For me, I have, lots of different folders on my desktop. And of course, I have applications that, I use all the time, such as Google Chrome. Google Chrome is the recommended browser for the class. Okay, that's where you're going to get the best experience out of Blackboard and SimNet. Okay, so I have the Google Chrome browser here. I have Bitdefender. If you've never heard of Bitdefender before, this is an antivirus program. Every computer should have antivirus software on it, and if you don't, get it. I've used all of them, the free ones, the not so free ones, and Bitdefender is probably, if not the absolute best, it's the absolute best in the US, the one that you can actually trust. Okay. Then I have Microsoft Edge, which that is Microsoft's built-in internet browser, right? And it's coming along. It's getting better, better and better, but still Google Chrome is the better browser. And these are not the only browsers, okay? But just, two of the ones that I use. But some of you may be familiar with Dogpile. What's another one? There's all sorts of browsers, but those are, I would say, the top ones that are being used today. Okay. And then of course, if you're using an Apple or a Mac, then you would use Safari. That's their sort of native internet browser app on an Apple machine. Okay. Now, to get around Windows, pretty much everything happens on the taskbar. Your taskbar is at the bottom of your screen, and it has the Windows Start button. Okay. Basically, it has 4 panels. It's a little button that has 4 panels, and it looks like you're looking at a side angle of an actual window. Okay. So when you click on the Start button, it opens up, okay, and you have a full alphabetic list of every application that is on your computer, okay. Then you have the menu, okay, and the menu is, going to show you some things maybe that you've been into, such as your calendar. I use LinkedIn a lot. If you've never heard of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is social media, but It's a social media networking tool, a professional networking tool. So I would definitely, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, definitely get one, okay? Because this is where you can, basically market yourself once you acquire certain skills. Once you go so far in this class, you're earning what are called digital badges for the things that you complete. You can post those digital badges on LinkedIn. I've known students and people for many years that have been on LinkedIn and gotten job offers just by having their LinkedIn profile out there with certain words like Microsoft certified or, Cisco certified or, whatever. So as long as you can show some proficiency in different software applications and can, update your LinkedIn profile, anything's possible. Okay. Also, the most commonly used apps that you use, as you can see, Access, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word are here for me. And then what we're using today, Microsoft Teams, I have that on there as well. Okay. So let's say if I wanted to, anyone have any trouble with their, with a lot of screen time? Maybe your eyes are tired or, you're starting to see spots or things like that. Windows has it built in where you can turn your applications into dark mode. Okay. So you would just basically go to the type here to search box, tap on it, and you could simply type in dark mode. Okay. And sorry, I'm doing it in all caps there. Now, do you see this where it says at the best match, turn on dark mode system wide? So if you click on that, it takes you into your Windows settings. This is where you can actually begin to customize your experience, with Windows. So you would select under choose your color, you would select dark. Okay. Of course, I already had it on. So when I go to the various applications, it's already in dark mode. Having it in dark mode makes it easier on your eyes. Okay. You can also change the color of your taskbar. Okay. You can change your desktop or background colors. Okay. Just by going into your settings and sort of perusing around. Okay. Just get a look around. You're not going to break anything, but that is definitely one way that you can do that. If you wanted to know, and let me close this. If you wanted to know, for example, what version of Windows your machine has, you can simply go to your type here to search and type in WinVer. Okay. And use the enter key, and it comes in and it tells you, gives you this little box, and it says, hey, you're using Microsoft Windows 10. Here's the build number. Okay. Windows 10, I'm using the home operating system. It depends on, where you got your computer from. You could be using, a business version, professional version. It just depends. Okay. And then it'll tell you what email address this product was licensed with. Okay. And that it's helpful to kind of know, right? So that is also provided in your instructional documentation for the practice computing basics unit. Okay, so I provide you with some of that information. Also, if let's say, for instance, you have, and I'm just going to draw some of these windows out here. Let's bring out email. Okay. So I'm going to use the restore down so you can see that these are actual separate windows. Okay. And let's see, SimNet as well. Okay, so I have basically 3 separate instances of Google Chrome browser. And so what if I just wanted to focus on one? So I would simply just grab the tab for that one and shake it from left to right. Did you see all of the other windows sort of disappear? Okay. That is a feature, and I provided it again in your instructional documents. That is the arrow shake feature with Windows. And what that does is it provides you with focus, right? It basically helps you to get rid of all of the noise on your desktop so that you can actually focus on the window that you want to focus on just by going up to the tab of the one that you want and shaking it with your mouse from left to right. Okay. Now, there are a host of other little helpful tips and tricks in your Practice Computing Basics instructional documents. Okay. And I'm trying to think which one it was. Has anyone gotten there yet? I put several of them in here. And if I had to guess, it would be probably the 2.6 or 2.7, where I give you some tips on some of the neat little features of Windows. Some that, you know, folks don't necessarily talk about every single day. But you can look it up yourself. I give you some shortcuts, some tips, some tricks, but it's in one of these instructional documents, okay? It may be up here, and I just went too far. But you definitely want to go through the instructional documents because you're going to get some information that's not provided in your sim books, okay? Are there any questions? Any questions so far? Everyone good? Okay. All right. And I'm trying to think what else would be important. Okay. So if you have multiple windows open, one of the things that you can do if, say, for instance, you don't really, know which one to go into here, okay, but they're all up and active. I have windows, multiple windows going at the same time all the time. And there's a neat little keyboard shortcut that you can use just by holding down your Alt key, ALT key. It's right next to your space bar on your keyboard. If you hold it down and then strike the Tab key one time, this will show you all of the various windows that, you have open, okay? And if you keep tabbing using the Tab key, just hold down the Alt and then strike the Tab key each time. You see the little white box that comes around each one. So let's say, for instance, if I wanted to go to the SimNet hardware one, I would keep going until the white box appears around the SimNet hardware window, and then I would release it. And that would make that window my active window. Okay, so not all windows that you have open are your active windows. Okay, only the one that you see is your active window. Now, of course, you could have multiple windows up. There's a little feature where you can basically share your screen with, a couple windows. So just by clicking and dragging to the left, okay, there's one window. What if I needed another window? Okay, I could click and drag it to the right. Okay, so I have basically two windows on my screen at the same time, but only one of them can be active. So when you hear someone say, oh, I'm multitasking, not really. You're still really, single tasking. You're just looking at the other screen. Okay. It's up on the screen, but it's not active. One is active and one is not. Okay. So hopefully this sort of gets rid of the myth of multitasking. The human brain, the only way that the human brain can multitask really is if there are certain things that are already converted to a habit. Okay, so you can technically walk and chew gum because walking is something that you have turned into a habit already. Does that make sense? So, and computers cannot do any more than what we can do. They've done a study on it. Okay, you're actually smarter than a computer, right? A computer has, I think they did from a study that I saw maybe last fall, maybe a computer has fifth grade intelligence at the most. Okay, so as long as you get past the fifth grade, you should be fine. All right. But a computer can only have what is called artificial intelligence. It does not have intelligence. Humans have intelligence. Okay. So if you've heard that word AI or artificial intelligence, now you know. Computers have artificial intelligence. They don't have real intelligence. Humans have real intelligence. Okay. All righty. Are there any questions? I see that we're about 3 minutes from the end time, and I want to give you time to ask any questions or anything that you may have on your mind. Okay. How about this? Since I see some new people. How about we get into a smaller group? Okay, just a group of two, and introduce ourselves to people that we haven't talked to yet. How would you like that? Okay, just a couple minutes, and we'll do that.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Good morning. I am new to the class today. This is Shirley Arvin.
Okay, Shirley.
Okay. Yes, I'm very excited to be here and get caught up on what I missed last week and have another opportunity to get it this week to remove those zeros.
I hear you. Yeah. All righty. So let's see. I'm gonna put you in a room with another student, okay? And just introduce yourself and just talk for a moment, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, you should be going momentarily here. And Troy, are you still around? Troy. He may not be.